What happened was.
Hey friends, it's so nice to see you. It's today, the time is now. You are here and the weather is outside your window.
Today's guest has had a brilliant career as a composer of operas that shake things up, challenge audiences, and blow people away. And his first opera ever, Soldier Songs, has been nominated for a 2022 Grammy Award. Please welcome David T. Little.
David!
Hey, how are
Hi.
you? So good to see you.
Great to see you. How have you been?
I've been okay. It's that question, like we've all kind of been.
It's a loaded question.
It's a loaded question, but I've been doing okay, and everybody's been sort of healthy and re-entering at a comfortable, sometimes scary, but mostly okay pace, I think would be.
Yeah,
I guess that's my answer for that question.
Yeah.
These days, at
I
least.
feel like within the question of how are you doing, there's the following questions. Are you still an artist? Are you eating?
Right.
Do you have a home? Have you become a real estate agent?
Right. Yeah. Right. Then there's been a lot of that. I mean, a lot of people have shifted, and a lot of people have shifted to real estate, which I suppose, in the context of the real estate market, is not the worst choice right now.
It's a great choice. It's interesting. And I'll be totally honest, I totally considered it. Early pandemic, I was scrambling and just like, what will I do now? And I find it interesting because it is kind of very similar to being an artist, and that it is sort of like you're still a 1099 worker and you're still working for like a big sum of money for basically a commission, right?
Interesting.
It's like you finish your operating check, or you sell a house and you get a check.
Right. So know that landscape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. I hadn't actually thought of it in those terms. That's totally true.
It's like comfortable because you know the potentials of poverty and not having health insurance. So it's kind of a lateral move.
Right. Oh man.
But there's the potential for hitting it big, which is like equivalent to stardom. Right.
Right. So I guess there must be real estate stars.
Yeah.
But probably like people outside of opera, they're not necessarily known to people outside of real estate. I mean, they're very much like in world.
Yeah.
Kind of, I mean, people transcend out of it, but
when I was dreaming of being a real estate agent, I realized quickly that I wasn't really dreaming of being a real estate agent. I was dreaming of having a reality TV show about me playing a character of a real estate agent, and it wasn't a fit.
Well, but I would watch that show.
I would too.
Like I would love that. That sounds amazing. I think you need to make that show. Someone needs to make that show. Someone greenlight that show.
It turns out I was dreaming of an acting role though. I wasn't dreaming of actually, getting my license in real estate.
So was it it was just the act of acting, not that particular role?
Yeah, like playing the part. Yeah.
Well, and you've been doing some acting, right? I saw that you were doing some.
Yeah.
And actually, what did I just see? I just saw you in something. Was it in 30 Rock?
I did Saturday Night Live, and
were you? I feel like I saw. Were you a security guard?
I did a 30 Rock years ago.
Yeah, I just rewatched that episode, and I was like, "It's Zach."
Yeah. That was my first TV gig ever.
Oh, was it? Oh man, It was great. It was
that's cool.
And it was with like Steve Martin.
Yeah,
that's not a bad start.
It was pretty rad.
First gig.
And I didn't know it was going to be him because they were like TBA guest star.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I showed up and it's like, hey, I'm Steve. Oh, okay. Cool.
Who are people like? Because I feel like Steve Martin. I feel like they're probably guest stars like you would have been really excited to for this person to be, and then others maybe you would have been like, oh
yeah, like who would I be excited about? Like, Oprah,
right.
Oh
my gosh,
yeah, like Elaine Stritch, yeah,
and could have been.
Yeah,
that would have been yeah,
it would have been cool. Yeah, but I'll take whoever shows up. And I will cash your check, sir.
Right. That's such a, I mean, I think that's such a great thing. I mean, I guess for composers, we also, there are also avenues to work in film and TV as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe this is wrong, but it feels like for a performer, it feels a little more of a one-off. Like you do this, like it's like a day and you go and you shoot the thing versus like scoring a show is
right.
like it's a kind of a bigger commitment.
Huge.
But potentially, I mean, I guess you could do like one-off things.
You could like
additional music or something, but
the theme song, but not score the whole series. But
do the theme song.
I was actually listening to, but also watching the latest episode of Succession last night, and just noting how the scoring of that show is really changing as it goes, and it's really sophisticated storytelling. It's just the orchestration is getting denser and denser and more dramatic, and just keeping you on the edge of your seat in this really uncomfortable way.
That score is by, it's the same guy who did Moonlight? I can't remember. I was just reading and I don't remember anything anymore. So I read an article about this composer and it sounded really interesting. And now I can't remember. I have to go back and look it up.
I can't remember his name, but I can play it on the piano, and I do.
Oh,
and
cool.
Feels good. Yeah.
And does it make you feel like you're scheming to be the head of does it put you, are you like,
yeah,
I will prevail?
I run the world,
Yeah.
But then I make a mistake and forget the key signature, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in.
And then that's it. You're out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted to bring you on because you're Grammy nominated this week, and
and so are you.
We're Grammy nominated.
It's so fun.
So
such a nice. I mean, you too. What a shock. I mean, I was not expecting.
Really?
No, I mean, I feel like you should never expect anything. That just leads to a life of disappointment.
That is true, and that's a good outlook.
I mean, I was really happy. I mean, it's obviously really happy, really thrilled, and really, especially I think happy for Soldier Songs just as a piece, because this piece has been around for so long. It's my first opera.
Yeah,
it's a piece that is really personal because to make it, I interviewed a bunch of family members and friends, so it's like some ways my most personal piece. So it's really nice, in that sense, for it to be recognized in this way.
It's how I was introduced to your work, for sure.
Oh, cool.
Put it in front of me and was just like,
right.
This, and yeah.
And it's nice. And Akhenaten, for you, I mean, you've lived with that piece for a long time, and it was
since 2016 now, and
it has led to tattoos and all kinds of life-changing things.
I got more productions coming. It's weird. It seems like it was going to be a one-off, and it's just like it's every other year of my life now, and I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful production. It's a great piece. It's like,
thanks. Yeah.
And Phelim, I mean, the what Phelim did with that is just it's pretty incredible.
He's the best.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love him.
Yeah.
And it really is I think a production where he just got to go all in. You don't get the sense that there were any restrictions. I mean, I'm sure there were things he had to balance, but so
it's interesting. It's my third piece with him, and I guess now my 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th production with him. Wow. So I know his process really well, and I've been in rooms where the process really works, and also rooms where it doesn't, and it's very dependent on who is in the room. And
well, you sort of have to meet the process.
Yeah,
like you have to you have to engage with it, right? Because
you have to buy into it and
believe
it.
And there's play involved too, right?
A lot of play, a lot of improv, a lot of all your ideas are welcome. And sometimes I've been in rooms with actors with him where they just want to get to the work and let's just stage the number, and it's like, you don't understand, this is part of that process,
right? Where's my mark? I'll hit it.
Exactly.
Yeah, different kind of thing.
You're missing out on all the fun.
And it's funny, that kind of process, because get where's my mark, I'll hit it is very functional and very efficient in a certain way.
Sure.
But I don't know that those productions, and this is a overstatement, I'm sure, but I feel like you can get to places with play and with exploration that transcend mostly what you see in a hit this spot and at this point. Because and I think that's why, I mean, I don't want to speak for Phelim, but his process, I think, understands that and
Oh yeah,
strives for those
yeah,
like glorious discoveries.
absolutely. Yeah, it's like art versus paint by number, you know,
Right. Right.
and they both can be pretty to look at, but
Well, and not, you mean, I feel like there are also directors who are just brilliant at conceiving of the like hit this mark kind of production, and
right.
it works, and it probably wouldn't work without that kind of approach. So maybe it's
Sure,
just a matter
sure.
of different artists being different, and just the way some composers are, very improvisatory, and some just
Right.
sort of start writing,
Yeah. You
I
know what
think,
I like.
right. I think the first performance I ever saw of yours was actually in as Lincoln.
Oh,
And that was also Phelan, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I watched the live stream.
Oh, wow, wow.
May have been before we met or around the time
Yeah,
that we met. That scene is like
it's cool.
the best scene.
Yeah,
So good.
yeah.
I remember watching it and being so jealous that Philip had gotten to that first, because I was like, what I wouldn't give to write a scene of like animatronic Abraham Lincoln tormenting Walt Disney.
Oh my God,
Like,
write the opera of it, because we only got a scene, and I need work.
so that could be the whole, we'll just call it animatronic Lincoln in the Bardo. There we go. It'd be just a mashup of everything.
Yeah, that's right.
It can be a pastiche of sorts.
Yeah, yeah, I am ready for that. So yeah, here we go. Can't wait. See you at rehearsal.
And get some JFK in there, because there's some
Yeah.
Lincoln stuff in that. Oh, yeah. There are a couple Lincoln operas, I think,
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, all right. So talk to me about JFK, because this was an explosive moment in your career, and going from
Yeah.
to JFK, that's a huge leap. It's a grand opera.
It was definitely a grand opera, and we had a couple. So Soldier Songs, I started writing in 2004. It was first performed in 2006, and then was kind of a revised version with not major changes, but just a couple cuts, was done in 2011 with Yuval Sharon and Beth Morrison projects.
Right.
And then I guess just before that happened, Royce Favric and I had met, and we had started working together. And so I had done the libretto myself for Soldier Songs, but for really for monodramas, I'm comfortable, but when you have characters talking to each other, then I feel like that's a little outside of my comfort zone, at
Gotcha.
least at the time, especially. And
Yeah.
so when Royce and I started working together, then other characters came in. And so
Yeah.
we started working on Dog Days together. And then in the middle of Dog Days, which is,
also
that was a kind of breakout thing, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And
Very successful.
we wrote Vinkensport with orchestra, so no chorus, but with orchestra. So Dog Days, I would say 9 characters, chamber ensemble, amplified chamber ensemble. Vinkensport, 6 characters, orchestra, and then after all of that came the opportunity to write JFK. We also did an oratorio called Am I Born, which is actually being released in the new year. A recording is being released, which is really exciting.
Oh, very
which
cool.
is with choir and orchestra. So we had all these pieces that we were kind of doing, like, okay, here we get some experience with this scale, and here we get some, And so then when the opportunity to do JFK came about, we were felt like we were ready to tackle it. And it was a really, it was a terrifying process, because it was a lot to balance, but it was also really rewarding, and I think unlocked some things in me as a composer that had been under the surface in other pieces. It's more like they were just like straight up love duets, there weren't any love duets in Dog Days for example.
Right.
I mean, in their way maybe, but
Yeah.
But like the Moon duet from JFK it's just like 2 people singing about falling in love.
Yeah.
And I think that harkens back for me to my love of like the classic musicals, like Carousel. If I Loved You from Carousel, I think it's like the greatest thing ever. So there's that part of me which I think early on people focused on the like, oh, he's a rock metal drummer, and I had this sort of hard edge kind of approach to things, and that's certainly part of what I do. But then there was this whole other side where it's like, yeah, but I was a theater kid. Like
Yeah.
You know, I was in The Sound of Music. Come on.
Heck
You know?
yeah. That's awesome.
So I think JFK kind of, you know, was a step toward balancing that out, or like
Yeah.
really coming into a full sense of an artistic self or something.
Did you imagine having your compositions on such a enormous scale and stage prior to JFK, or was that like something you adjusted to?
I mean, I had to adjust to it in terms of figuring out like how that world works, like how that scale worked, because
Yeah.
that's a big question when you're shifting from like you know, a chamber piece like Dog Days,
Sure. As
which
far
is
as
amplified.
orchestration and
Yeah, and just in
yeah.
terms of like how long things take. And
Right.
but I always sort of dreamt of the big stage, you know. And I used to, when I was in college, before I ever thought that I would end up writing opera, I used to always go to the library and just like look at the pictures at the back of Opera News
Uh-huh,
of like the upcoming, you know, productions, and look at the sets, and I was like, oh, they're so amazing, you know. So I always like kind of had a yearning for that, I would
Yeah.
say.
You're dreaming big.
Streaming big.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's important.
Usually I think so. Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
why just write a solo piano piece,
Well, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, sure.
But I do that too, and it's fine, you know. I mean, I
Yeah.
think finding balance is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you always think that you would, I mean, how did you sort of come to being on the stage, I mean, and performing? I'm guessing you started when you were younger and it just continued, or was there a moment?
Well, I started in high school and I instantly loved it, but I was like terrible and couldn't stand still, couldn't sing in tune. So it was kind of in a way it was kind of traumatic, because I was like, oh my God, this is what I love the most and I want to do it, but I'm really bad at it. And I
Oh,
don't know
wow.
how. Yeah. So I actually went to school for music ed percussion. And
What? That's what I
yeah.
went to school for.
No way.
Yeah, undergrad.
Awesome.
I changed my major like to performance right at the end.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a music ed major.
Hell yeah.
Was there a moment, and this is a leading question, but was there a
Yes.
moment where you were like, I can't do this, or did you actually finish that
Absolutely.
degree?
No, I could not pass my snare jury. I just
Oh
couldn't.
my God.
Yeah. I was great at keyboard percussion and timpani. That was my thing, like marimba and
Yeah.
timpani all day long, but I could not pass that snare jury.
Oh
And
wow.
no, they're like, dude, this is getting rough. You got one more
Right.
semester. And I was
Oh,
like,
man.
I'm gonna go be a theater major. And it was
Wow.
a major shock, but yeah. And then I ended up I transferred to Ithaca College and got a musical theater degree, which was
Oh,
pretty
cool.
great. And that's where I discovered opera. And just,
Right.
you know, I had done some chorus opera work at Florida State, where I was
Mhm.
previously, but yeah. My teacher was just like, what about opera? You know?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And ever since, it's just been both worlds.
Yeah, well, I think it's so remarkable that you do live in both worlds so kind of seamlessly. It's amazing. I don't think there are too
Thanks.
many performers I can think of who really do that to the extent that you do. It's really cool.
Well, thanks. It doesn't feel seamless, and
I'm sure it
you
feels
know.
like, yeah.
Yeah, and there always feels like those barriers, and there's like stuff I'm allowed to do in opera that I'm not allowed to do in musicals, and stuff I'm allowed to do in musicals that I'm not allowed to do in opera. It's just like, can't we just smash all these balls?
Is it true? I mean, because I feel like so much of the work that I've written is also kind of runs up against those sorts of things. Like, well,
Yeah.
it can't be amplified. It's opera. It's like, well,
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. It's amplified, like,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
opera. So,
Yeah.
And there are specific reasons it's amplified. Because
Yeah.
like a piece like Dog Days, I want that, there's singing, and then there are moments where we want to be able to hear whispers.
Yeah.
And you won't hear those.
Right.
Is it in as intimate a way? So I don't know. I mean, I guess who is deciding what's allowed?
Well, I mean, I think the composer decides, right? The writers decide. Because if you're like, this is amplified, this is my opera, it's like, oh, okay, well, it's the opera. You call it an opera.
Right.
But if you were to say Dog Days is a musical, then it's a musical. So, but
it's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are definitely moments in Dog Days that are very inspired by and kind of need to channel musical theater to land. Like I'm thinking of like the brothers duet, the Go Forth and Repopulate, which is like super disturbing. I mean, that's like I mean, there's some jazz hands under the surface of that like disturbing
Yeah.
scene,
It's basically like it's Lily's eyes from Secret Garden. It's it's
right? They're like, well, I love a good villain song too. Like I always was drawn to the villain songs in
Oh,
like the Disney
that's
musicals.
yeah.
Like
Yeah. Villains are the best characters. Like, come on.
totally.
Yeah.
Well, like I was just reading something about Hellfire from Hunchback and how it was like somehow it slipped through and is like way too either like dark or erotic or both.
Disney.
Yeah, like they were just like, how did that happen? How did that get through? And somehow there was, I forget, maybe it was something like the writers put some sort of red herring in. So like they're like, oh, we'll cut that part, but then the rest of it is like what it is.
Interesting.
I have to go back and find again. I read this and I can't remember anything about it,
That's okay.
in terms of specifics, but yeah, I was always drawn to the villain songs.
It's what's best. Yeah. I mean, I guess we both live in a world where we focus on a lot of new works. And I think in those lands, you don't have to define things so clearly.
Right.
Even when talking about Bach, it's like, in traditional opera world, they're like, well, you bass baritone or baritone. But in contemporary opera, they're like, what can you do?
Exactly.
And
like you're all of those.
Yeah, it's just like, what do you need? Let's do it. And that's exciting.
Is it in, you did maybe this is actually where we first met, and maybe actually I was wrong about Lincoln. It was maybe Prairie Dogs. Did you do the reading of Prairie Dogs? Or am I totally wrong?
Yeah, I did.
Like forever ago?
A highlight thing of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Prairie Dogs, Rachel Peters and Royce Favric, and you played Grandma. Is that right? Or Grandpa? I don't remember. See, the things I do remember.
I don't know, because also that seems like a century ago.
I think it actually was literally a century ago. It was a long time ago. But I remember you singing very high and very low.
Yeah. Why not?
Saying "goddamn prairie dogs."
Yeah.
I don't know why. My brain is strange.
Working with Missy on Breaking the Waves, they, Missy and Royce, they were at the table and we were working on the scene where Jan gets hit by like an oil drill.
Right.
Like, no, Jan, and and they're like, yeah, this isn't working. Like, what would you do if you just like screamed out because you saw your friend? And it was like, and then all of a sudden that was in the score. And
right.
On paper, it's like, oh, you put a high A in the score. But like, if I saw that, I'd be like, no, God. But when it's coming from a place of character and story and like emotion and landscape and relationship, then it's like not a note, it's just a circumstance. And that's exciting, I think.
Well, I feel like that is the way theater pieces have to function, right? They have to come from, they have to be character driven, and I think so much of I think when a piece maybe doesn't work, it's that it maybe doesn't understand that relationship, or I don't know, maybe that's not true. Yeah, I'm making a lot of generalizations about.
No, it's cool. I mean,
things.
You don't have to answer this, but what do you, when you're sitting in an audience and you're at a show and it's just like, oh, this is pretty good music, but everyone on stage is just staring at the conductor and no one's making eye contact with each other. Like, does that boil your blood?
I mean, I don't know. I try to control my anger. But I think I find it frustrating,
I get upset. Yeah.
It is anytime that there's a missed opportunity. Just like, oh, like this was like, and it's hard because we're always just trying to get it across the finish line at the right moment, and have the show peak on opening night or whatever. So there's also those sorts of considerations, but
I just kind of think like we as opera artists have a responsibility to make it accessible but also visceral. Like, no one should leave the theater being like, yeah, that was all right. You should either like love it or hate it. Strong feeling, and think of theater or opera as theater, and acting is equally important in my mind, and not everyone feels that way, but I think it is a major tool we have to connect to audience.
Well, and it's funny, thinking about what I said before about coming up with in sort of heavy metal, I think in a way the thing that my sort of gateway or my path from heavy metal to opera is that sense of that they're both forms that in their own way live on an edge. Like heavy metal is about pushing to extremes, and so and I think you see this in a piece like Dog Days. Like Dog Days is about, that's a piece that like is about pushing these characters two extremes, and in some ways also vocally. I mean, there's some difficult pieces in it. I think, you know, when the singers get in it, they I think, like everything, they cease to feel difficult. But, you know, I know talking with Lauren Worsham, the first time she saw Mirror Mirror, she's like, oh my God, like what are these? Every meter is different, and it's a whole thing. But, you know, to have to see a show where the cast goes there.
Yeah.
And that's actually the way going there is like,
Go there.
you know, like I talk about like the rite of spring as if he's like, it goes there, right? Like
When? Yeah.
like heavy metal,
Yeah.
you know, in its like most intense form goes there. And it's not always it's not always where it's going is not only pleasant, but not always pleasant, but it's, I think it has to go there. It's important in every way.
Yeah.
So that, you know, when I see a show that's not taking advantage of the space, it's not going to that edge, I just feel like
You're missing the responsibility. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like right.
And that's not to say everything has to be dark. It's not that. I mean, even comedies have to go there, you know,
but no coasting, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, life's too short to coast.
Yeah. Come on.
And I think we also get into this because as performers, you know, like I wanted to have that feeling of being on the edge when I was on stage in my youth, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe not everyone, I guess not everyone's not, you know, not everyone is like that, but
they should be.
I think so.
Yeah.
Live on the edge.
For sure. And that's, I think, a challenge of performing live is you can't recreate that moment, so you have to find new ways to go there each day, because the way you went there yesterday, you may not have access to that today, and you have to go kind of further with staying in the context of what your job is, right? And honoring the production, the score, the staging, lighting cues being lit, you know, things like that. There's so much to think about. But those are all kind of givens. And then it's how are you going to emotionally connect and invite people in?
When as a composer, I think there's something similar where it's like you're writing for singers who are human beings who, you know, you're writing for like a physical thing that can't do everything you might dream it can do.
Come on, find
no. Was that
just find new people?
No, but I think, you know, I think, and maybe this is you know, over the years I've become much more sensitive to the little things that a composer can do to make the singer's job easier.
As far as what? Like what's an
just
example?
Being sensitive to like approaches or register, or just be, you know, when you're writing for someone, just, you know, communicating with them about like what are their strengths, what are the things they're uncomfortable with or find more difficult, you know, and just understanding that they're a human being on a stage doing a difficult job, and the last thing I need to do is make their job harder. You know, I'm already making it hard potentially with the music, you know, if the music is challenging, but I don't need to make it even harder by, you know, not considering these things. It was really valuable when I was writing JFK. I worked with Neil Gore and just looked at a lot of Verdi mezzo rules. And just looking at these sort of small, you know, just how certain vowels are placed, or how certain, you know, just little things. I think that's where I think that's how you start to know you're dealing with someone, a composer who like really gets it. To see those things happen.
Well, we love great vocal writing, obviously, but it's I think there's something, and this may just be a me thing, but I like seeing something on the page that I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. But I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be fun and stressful. But that's not.
So you like the challenge.
Yeah. And I like doing new stuff, you know, and I love those conversations with composers where we talk about not only range, but quality and tone and emotion. And I love when a composer is like, what don't you like to do? And I always say, you know, I don't like to move a lot, like, you know, not a lot of runs. And then they write something and it's all runs. And so
I know that is the danger. I was just thinking like, oh, what is the thing that you feel uncomfortable? And then inevitably that's going to be the most interesting thing. And they're going to be all that. So you need to be careful. Well, one can choose to be careful that, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's interesting. I mean, I've had situations where I've asked a singer like to describe their voice, and throughout a process, I realized that the information I got early on was like incomplete, or
yeah.
certain things
Sure.
I was like, they came out later, they actually don't like to do this thing that they said they like to do, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, and you know, you just sort of
Yeah,
have to roll with it. But it's always interesting to, you know, we're all kind of imperfect, and we
sure.
all understand ourselves incompletely, right? And
Yeah,
so, and we're trying to do this thing that is helped by that kind of communication about those sorts of things, but
right,
it's always a little tricky. So you just have
right,
to, I think, keeping the human being at the center of things is important, you know. And
right, right.
I don't know, that at least has been really helpful for me. And I think writing roles for people who, at least I hope, enjoyed them and found value in the roles themselves as they
I-
work through
Yeah,
them, you know.
I think very much.
They told me they love them, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna believe them.
they do. Yeah, yeah, and much more to come.
Much more.
All right, so January 31st, am I going to see you at the Grammys? Are we there?
Yeah, I think we're
Heck
gonna,
yeah.
I think it's in the plan. I mean, I haven't dealt with any aspect of getting there or anything yet, but I think
I
we
booked the
gotta go,
hotel.
right?
Yeah, we gotta go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll see you there.
It's a good, I mean, not just, you know, in our shows, but also in Dialogue and Bluebeard. I mean, there's so many great people. I hope everybody goes and we all hang out.
Yeah, we will for sure.
We'll crash
Look,
all the good parties.
oh yeah, I wanna hang with Lizzo and Lil Nas X. And
Totally.
who's on your wish list?
Oh man. I didn't actually look at who got the medal nominations.
Well, they'll
But probably-
all be there. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's there.
I don't know. I don't know if I have like a list. I'm just gonna want to take in the whole experience.
Yeah.
You know, see who you see.
All right. So they announce the winner and it's you, and you go up there. What are you gonna say?
Assuming that I can speak,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's always like, you know, a piece like this, I think it's so, you have to thank the people who made it. I mean, Jonathan McCullough, this whole project was his idea, you know, and Opera Philadelphia, who, you know, shepherded it from a live show to this film, James Darrah, who helped it, you know, I mean, Montoya, they're all the people who are making the thing, and
Yeah.
the orchestra and Corrado, you know, I mean, it was a really, it was a difficult process, but really rewarding, just because it was pre-vaccine, we were all getting tested like every couple of days, you know, it was so it was intense. But also I just think the people who I interviewed for the piece, you know,
Yeah.
I think they need to be acknowledged, and the people whose stories they also represent, you know. I mean, I interviewed people who were friends and families who had been in combat or in the military in some capacity, but that's just they're just, you know, the part of that community that intersects directly with my life. There's a huge community of people who have a really wide range of experiences, so I want to try to acknowledge that some complete but concise way.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I can name everybody on, you know, who I interviewed, that would be great.
Yeah. That'd be really cool. Yeah. It's
know,
very touching.
I mean, I guess, do you practice, like, I guess you have to,
Yeah,
I don't know.
You think about it and you have note cards in your pocket.
Yeah. But see, the problem is, anytime I have note cards, like to give a talk before a piece, I always, it has the opposite effect. Like I end up totally blowing it. Like I have to prepare and then just kind of go. If
Yeah.
I'm trying to read something, I'll be like, and then, oh, that's the wrong card. And, you know,
Yeah. Got it.
I'm a mess.
Maybe one card with bullet points. You just remember like an order.
Or like a big card that you have to like unfold.
Yeah.
You could do
A
Bob
scroll.
Dylan style.
Yeah.
You know, that's a terrible idea. Edit that part out. That's terrible.
Great idea. A scroll.
Not. Yeah. Just pass one side to Jonathan. These are terrible ideas.
Well, we'll see.
How about you? What are your
Philip and Phelim. Those are my guys. They're responsible for the majority of my success, those two people. And Philip, before I even met him, I just like heard something greater than us in his music. Like the idea of God is there. And that to me is just like cool. I'm a convert. And yeah, that's it.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's the Grammys fall on Philip's 85th birthday.
Oh, that's so great. I didn't realize that.
So I hope he's there, and I hope, you know, we just all get to be together. That would be really special. Yeah,
that's great.
We'll have a little opera party.
You have to.
Yeah. And I think we should walk around and be like, we're the opera people.
Like a whole crew.
Yeah. And we should blow everyone's minds and break all the stereotypes. We should be like looking like, you know, I don't know, us basically.
Right.
Basically just be ourselves.
right, exactly. Well, it's a pretty good crew, you know.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's well cast for a red carpet.
Yeah. We'll see you on the red carpet. Can't wait. I only wish Joan Rivers was still around to critique our looks.
Oh my gosh, I know.
That's an opera.
Oh
Joan Rivers, the opera.
Have you seen the documentary on her? I think it's called A Piece of Work.
Of course.
So good.
Yeah. Cool.
That and the Elaine Stritch is I'm Still Here. Those two are like, I love those. They're like,
So I'm learning we intersect in ways that I never thought we would.
Right?
So this is fun.
I'm not surprised.
Well, can I ask you some silly questions?
Sure.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right, zodiac sign.
Scorpio.
Oh, coffee or tea?
Coffee. Lots of coffee. Occasional tea.
Yeah. Favorite flavor of ice cream?
I think it's actually vanilla.
That's fair.
Which I feel like is, you know, like vanilla is like maybe signifies boring, but I think it's actually super complex.
A good vanilla.
Vanilla. That has to be good vanilla.
There's a reason it's like the number one flavor.
Yeah. It's great.
Good. Yeah. What's your favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Yeah, because you're a Scorpio.
Yeah. And my birthday is right before then, so I think growing up it was like a really joyous time, you know, and now, you know, in our neighborhood, like, you know, I haven't put on a costume in a long time, but like it's a good trick-or-treating neighborhood that we're in, so we just go out and walk around, and it's like, it's just so adorable and
it's joyous.
Spooky. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I love Halloween as well. I also love Christmas though. It's like both.
Yeah, I mean, this sort of like the fall cluster from you know, October through the new year is a really nice time.
Yeah, I agree. My only complaint is there's really nothing for us in January, and that needs to be fixed. Like,
you mean after the new year?
Yeah, come on, get us something. To get through that month.
Well, there's ISPA and APAP and Prototype. That's its own kind of holiday, isn't it? The conferences and CMA. And...
Sounds great. What is the first opera you ever saw?
Live.
Yeah.
When I was an undergrad, they did some sort of like a Handel thing, but I don't remember it very clearly. The first one I remember was Consul.
Ooh.
At Michigan, starring actually Sean Pennecar, who we realized when we were doing JFK that he was on stage and I was in the audience. So I think that was among the first ones, and it, of course, really got me excited and, you know, connected with my interest in political art and politics in general. So it was a good first.
Such a good.
And I was also studying with William Bolcom, and when A View from the Bridge came to the Met. So the first piece I ever saw at the Met was A View from the Bridge, which was great.
Oh, that's so cool. What was the first musical you ever saw? Cats.
When I was 7 or 8 years old.
Did it blow your mind?
Totally blew my mind. And I remember that, like, the Christmas that followed, we maybe went for my birthday or something. And I remember I wanted like action figures, and I didn't understand that there weren't really Cats action figures, but I was like, I want a Rum Tum Tugger action figure. And my parents were like, how do we get that? That's not a thing. So that was, that's the first Broadway show I saw on Broadway, the first musical I probably saw was A Christmas Carol at my local high school, which was a musical written by my choir teacher, who would be the guy who become my choir teacher.
That's so cool.
And I think that started my obsession with A Christmas Carol. That was, like,
I'm
really
obsessed with Christmas Carol, and it was the first musical I saw
What?
at my high school. Yeah.
This is weird. Are we the same person? We might be the same person.
Yeah. I've done Christmas Carol a lot. I love it.
It's really good.
It's great.
It's such a, I mean, yeah.
Who's like your dream Scrooge of all time? You can cast anyone.
No. I don't know. It's such, I feel like there have been such terrific Scrooges
Yes.
already.
Yes. I'd like to see like a Tilda Swinton Scrooge
Yeah,
or Meryl
that would
Streep
be-
Scrooge.
yeah, that would be terrific.
Yeah. But now would you write an opera of A Christmas Carol?
You know, it's a thing I toy around with. That's on my bucket list. I want to write a Christmas Carol opera.
You know, I'd say go for it. And my advice would be keep the orchestra small and
Yeah.
make it so you can do 8 shows a week.
Right.
Sing.
So write a musical. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
Basically, but you can
Yeah.
disguise it as an opera, and opera companies will do it.
Yeah. No, but that raises a good point about, you know, you don't want to space it out over 6 weeks. It's not that
You
kind
want to
of,
just hit it hard Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve.
right. Yeah.
And Christmas present is a color to a soprano.
Yeah. Right.
Like it's gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I first saw it, I was just like Jacob Marley. It was all about Jacob Marley.
Marley, man.
I like went home and made a Jacob Marley costume.
Yes.
I made like little, like, you know, like you make the sort of ring chains for the tree.
Yeah.
And I just like, I was
Yeah.
like, I put them on and I sort of, it's just spooky little kid.
Marley is it.
It's everything.
Marley is
It's like the
everything.
state of humanity right there.
Yep. Marley.
Yeah.
Marley is understanding regret, understanding opportunity for change. You know.
Yeah.
Marley's such a mirror for Scrooge, and he just doesn't see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Christmas Carol forever. Because,
I think we need to get coffee and talk about A Christmas Carol
yeah.
at length.
And we could call our coffee the Fezziwigs Annual Christmas Ball.
We must. We have to.
Like 2 more questions for you. The big one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can go back in time to any point in your life and tell your younger self in that moment one thing. What is it?
One thing.
It could even be yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like there was a point where I kind of misunderstood the idea that that to be serious and to be serious about your work and your career, that you had to sort of eliminate other things. And I think also part of that was like generosity, and you know, I think you can still be like generous and kind and happy and, you know, have a life outside of the practice room and still be okay, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Luckily that period was a short-lived period, because it was a pretty, you know, being in a practice room all the time is not fun.
It's really difficult.
So, but I feel like, you know, if I could have skipped that period and just been like, you know what, it's fine, you can go out this weekend and you won't die
Yeah.
of, you know, from not practicing this marimba piece a little more. It's gonna be fine. And also in 10 years you will not have played a marimba in 8 years. So
Yeah. So there it is.
yeah.
Did that come from a place of feeling kind of the pressure of competition?
I think I just felt I started so late, and I knew where I wanted to get to professionally, and also just in terms of like educational landscapes and kinds of schools I knew I wanted to go to, and I knew I had to work hard
Yeah.
as an undergrad and also in high school. And you know, there was a moment where that just got a little all-encompassing, you know.
Yeah.
To the detriment of some other just parts of my life, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it would, you can tell yourself it was necessary. I don't think it was necessary in hindsight.
Right.
I think you could have. It was just you needed to organize things a little differently, and it would have felt different.
Yeah. Well, that's part of process.
Yeah,
That
one is
takes
part of like growing and understanding.
Yeah.
Understanding what it is to be a person and an artist, and
Yeah.
and it takes time.
Absolutely. And understanding that resting and leisure are an important part of process, because your brain actually gets that work done when you're not paying attention,
Totally.
And that's
Totally.
Sleep.
And just like not thinking, like or passive thinking.
Yeah.
Is really,
We really can get in our own ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult.
Well, and at the time it was sort of fortunate because I actually developed like tendonitis
Oh,
practicing.
Gosh. Yeah.
So it was like, all right, well, like thanks body for helping adjust my thinking, because I was like, I can't practice all the time now.
No. Bodies are incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like grateful for that tendonitis in retrospect.
Right. I get it. I mean, the voice is interesting because it stops working eventually,
Right.
Singing too much, it's like you're done.
Like
for
nope.
good.
Yeah.
And if you have too many of those days, it says you're done for good. So
Right.
you gotta
Right. Yeah. You gotta.
Yeah.
One, there's the idea, also just the idea of health, like viewing health that it matters, and you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And that means a lot of different things, and also different things for different people.
Things. Yeah. It's lifestyle. It's mental health. It's mostly not physical health. Like that's the easy one. 'Cause
Right.
It presents
Right.
itself. Yeah.
Right. You sort of can, and there are things you can you can do. I think dealing with other things that are a little less or a little more evasive can be.
Yeah. Well,
hard,
we've
but
solved all the world's problems.
I know this is great.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy
the world
New
is
Year.
fixed.
You're welcome. My final question for you, though, is what is the meaning of life?
Oh my God. I think it's balance and finding it. And I think that's related to the sort of stuff we were just talking about too, but getting to a place where you're just like, oh no, and also the understanding like you can work harder and it it's not necessarily working better. I mean, that's sort of a cliche, but
true. Yeah.
But just finding balance and keeping balance and finding happiness in that balance.
Yeah. Happiness.
Also ice cream.
Happiness. Yeah. Ice cream. Happiness. Yeah. Vanilla ice cream. Yeah.
Ice cream.
A wonderful.
Well-balanced ice cream.
Yeah. Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
and,
so good to chat. Thanks for having me on.
Great. Yeah. Congratulations on your Grammy nomination.
You too.
Thank you.
It's going to be a fun January.
I'll see you in LA. It'll be a blast. And enjoy the holidays. And
you too.
Hey, we have something to look forward to in January, as it turns out.
We do. So there you go. Grammys have come through for you.
Yeah, they have. All right. Be well.
You too. We'll talk to you very soon.
That's all for today's episode. Puppies and rainbows till we meet again.